as part of our life story series, we've been talking to people that have lived experience with mental illness, substance use issues, and have experienced homelessness. Today, we're going to be speaking with Claire. It's an honor for me to be speaking with Claire and for her to have agreed to share her life story with us. Claire was Ryan's best friend, and yeah, she's like so important to us and to the work that we do. And she's just been a blessing to our lives and to Ryan's life. And I just want to thank you, Claire, for your courage in sharing your story. As you know, I really believe that the way we're going to change things, open minds and open hearts, is by sharing real life stories and to humanize, so that people are not just thinking these are just numbers and these are statistics. These are real people.
I let everyone know. I don't keep it a secret. I think that it's something people should know that can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
Any life, any education.
So what was it that made you want to share your story?
Well, we're not treated like human beings, really. And we are. Like, for example, if my father had met Ryan before, like if he knew, he probably wouldn't have liked him, because we're judged on how we act, on how the addiction can make us act, on everything. But usually we're just trying to hide pain, excruciating pain that we don't know how to deal with in any other way. And then you just get hooked. And when I first got hooked, I felt very alone. I thought, how can this happen? How am I not able to stop doing something so stupid that's hurting me, that's making me sick, that's making my parents devastated? How can I not stop? And then I found that there were other people exactly like me, and I wasn't alone. And I don't want anybody else to feel alone. For example, what happened this morning, I didn't want anyone to feel alone.
So that helped you to when you were able to know that other people were going through the same thing as you.
Yes. Yeah. Shut this door. Absolutely. Like when I was lucky that I went to rehab because I was arrested, and it was, in order to get it off, the charge off, I had to pay a fine and go to rehab. And when I went, I learned a lot of things, obviously, and everybody there, they said, you're going to learn the most from the people around you, the people that have done this, the people that have done the rodeo, that have done the addiction. You're going to learn from your peers the most than from us. You're going to learn from the people around you, and you can't do it alone. You have to do it with people. No one can do this alone. And so I didn't, when you go to rehab, you're not necessarily going to, like, you feel like you're going to get well. You're on this, what they call the pink cloud. When you get out, you're like, I'm clean, I'm great. And then all of a sudden you're out on the street again a week later. And you're like, what the hell? How did this happen? It's a process. It's not always going to be the first time, but you pick yourself and dust off. I relapsed after clean for 11 years. It like smacked me right in the face. It was crazy how it gets you. And if I wasn't able to tell anybody about it, how can I get any help? If I don't trust anyone, how can I get any help?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to trust. You have to, like, people like you that treat us like human beings. Like Ryan always said, like, you see us as people, not numbers, not statistics. And losing Ryan, I lost my mom, the year before, was what made me relapse. But losing Ryan was even harder. And I think that's what helped me get clean again. But
I remember the first day I met you, and the first day you and Ryan met, you kind of knew right away that there was.
I knew he was one of us, one of me. And he had grown up the exact same way too. Education, we named our animals, our first pets, after the same book when we were a kid. But for example, my ex-husband, he came from a different life. He was born addicted. He did up his parents' shots. They were both addicts. I came from the same kind of life that Ryan came from. Happy family, suburban, didn't even know where to get weed at first. But then there's other people that are born into it and it doesn't happen to them, or it does. It can happen to anyone.
And I think that's important of sharing our life stories so that people see that, no one is immune to substance use issues. No one is immune to mental illness. It could happen to anybody. It could happen to your best friend or your brother or sister or mother or father, and yeah, we're all people and life is hard and we're struggling. And so we have to be honest about that. I think that that's really important so that people feel less alone.
And addiction is also like it's a symptom as well as like a disease, but it's a symptom. Like I remember going into a detox and somebody saying, "Oh, well, I have depression though." I'm like, we all do. We all have something. We're not happy people don't use and drink like we do.
Mm-hmm.
No, something that isn't trying to cover something up.
Yeah, so a lot of people that are using substances, it's to cope. It's the way they self-medicate because they've found that other medications don't work. I know that was the case for Ryan.
And it's also something you can control, you think, since you can't control anything else. Well, I can control this. I don't have a problem. I can control this until you can't. And honestly, you never did have control. But nobody even knew. I wouldn't tell anybody. I started when I was in my late teens, around 18. And that's when I went to university. I changed houses. My mom was sick. All kinds of strange stuff happened. And I think I also had a borderline personality, which is a whole other story. But like going to the doctor and getting something for a migraine, because I had migraines, I noticed that, oh, one for me, one for the pain. Two for me, two for the pain. All for me, no pain. And then you're done. They shouldn't be prescribing them so profusely, but a lot of people can actually handle them or they can handle them. But there's people like us that have something wrong and we can't handle it. It's something in our brain. It's not something we've chosen. We do choose to get help, but it's not a life we chose. No one would choose this to live. No one.
And I think that's the thing, is that we moralize it, right? Like that we make it like it's something people are choosing. And we don't say that about people when they have cancer or if they have a heart condition. I think that we need to start treating it like a public health issue that it is, rather than as a criminal issue. That when we criminalize drug use, certain drugs, because lots of people use drugs to cope with life stresses or to cope with mental illness and stress and stuff like that. But some of them are legal, like alcohol. It's not only legal, but it's condoned. And if you,
condoned. I mean, I'm sorry. But
and other substances, if you use it, you're forced into socializing with criminals and having to partake in those activities in order to get what you need.
Getting ripped off, being with sketchy people. And it's not something you want to be around. It's scary. I've heard like a friend of mine was actually in a house by herself with a supposed friend. They didn't let her leave for 4 days. And the only reason she got out is because they left the door unlocked. They kidnapped her.
So you have a lot of scary stories of things that have happened to your friends, and you've had a lot of loss.
I've been there with her when stuff has happened, like having the door kicked in and her picking up a very heavy dresser, putting it right in front of the door, so he wouldn't get to our next door. And I was just trying to protect her from her boyfriend, who was highest, and those kind of drugs, the ones like that make you up, they turn you into a different person. Like when I say what the things I've done in my past, people don't believe it because they know me now. But the things I do when it's my addict or me, and the things that I've done as my addict are horrible. I've done horrible things. And yes, we do feel guilty for what we do to our family. We feel hella guilty. And I knew, like when I would be sober, I'd remember all the bad shit I did. And I knew that Ryan would remember all the bad stuff he did. as when he was using. And I'm like, but that's not who you are. That's what the drugs make you do, because you are on survival mode. You are on survival. It's survival of the fittest. You need to, the first thing you think of, you need to get that drug because you are sick and you're not going to get through the day. We're not thinking, we need that money. I don't care if I'm stealing it from my mom's for her medication. I need mine more.
Mm-hmm.
It turns you into a bad person, but that's not who we are. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it does.
And it's hard for people to separate the behavior, the survival instinct from the actual person that is sick.
Exactly.
And like I advocate as part of, Ryan's Hope and Mom Stop the Harm for safe supply for everybody. And what do you think that safe supply would do for people?
Keep them like methadone. Keep them from being sick, but without overdosing and dying, and maybe getting off of it if they want to. Like that's what I'm on methadone. I took it. I'd been in rehabs. Methadone was what helped me actually, but like safe supply, that's the same. It's like safe supply because opiates, methadone is for opiates, but people who are on cocaine or crack or any of those drugs, there isn't something for that. And the cravings and the withdrawal from that is also as terrible, just as terrible. And if they could be weaned off or like safe supply, it's a disease. We shouldn't go to jail because we are ill. We go to a hospital when we're ill. Do you go to jail if you got cancer? No.
Yeah, when I think back to my mom and her illness at the end of her life, which was in the same year as Ryan's passing, and the treatment, and your mom, the treatment that they received for their medical illness compared to the treatment that Ryan received or that you received.
The time I slept on the floor in the hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of the system that's broken.
And every day I have people, and just like what happened this morning, which we won't talk about in detail, but people that are sick and not even like about the addiction, but another underlying medical condition, but because they have substance use issues, they will refuse to go to the hospital because of how they have been previously treated. And how do you think we change that?
I'd like to say education, awareness, like actually, not just that, but actually shaking hands with someone that has had a problem. Maybe like do a day with them, see what they go through. Like some people are blissfully unaware, and ignorance isn't bliss, it's ignorant. And like we have all kinds of educational stuff, but like I think just meeting people, like for example, there's been people helping my dad and I unpack the apartment. They don't need an Narcan kit anywhere they go. They don't need any of it. They know nothing about it, but they met me, and now they know that I'm just another person. And they actually are outside while I'm doing this, and they know that I had this at 1 o'clock to do this and to talk what I was talking about. I've known them for about 2 weeks, and they know more than they did when they came in.
Well, that's what it's about, right? It's about educating people. It's about making them aware and breaking the stigmas that are out there, that these are people that we should be afraid of or like avoid. And it's like, no, these are your neighbors. These are people in your family. And maybe you just don't know it. And by saying I'm a safe person, you open the lines to communication. And at least that person, if they've felt alone before, they know they now have one person that if they're struggling, they can go to.
Another neighbor. I have a neighbor, and he has that, and he just knows that I'm across the hall. And I know he's across the hall. If I'm having a bad day, I can get a hug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so important for people, right? When they're struggling.
It's not a quantity, it's quality. The people that are going to be for you for the good and the bad. Somebody who is offering you drugs, giving you drugs, but that's not your friend. That's not if you are trying to get clean and people are kicking you out of their life because you're trying to be clean, those weren't your friends. They're the people, you need to have the quality people around you. People, places, things.
So what?
I was in rehab before, not everybody gets that, but like not everybody gets the whole rehab, gets to go to rehab, but like when I was ready to get clean, everything I was taught was usable.
Mhm.
So just, and it's really hard. It's so hard to get clean. You have,
Yeah.
and sobriety always don't stand for son of a bitch, everything's real. And we're
So
just
you,
people trying to get through life
mhm.
with a little extra trouble.
So you've been struggling with your substance use issues and mental health, and you've had relapses and stuff like that.
Mhm.
When you think back to what people did that actually helped you or what hurt, what would you say to people that say they had a family member or friend that they were worried about that was struggling and they want to help, but they don't really know? What do you think they could do? What's like some first steps that they could do?
Well, with my parents, I knew that, like my loved ones, I knew that they were safe people to talk to. If like what you say, I'm like, you are a safe person. I've always come to you as well, but that anything you say, I'm not going to judge you. You can tell me what is going on so I can help you. I can't help if I don't know everything. And even if you think it is the worst thing in the world, tell me and I won't judge. Just just let them be open. Don't make them feel bad about anything they've done, because trust me, they can make themselves feel hella bad and way worse than you could ever make us feel. Like we can do that to ourselves. But just to have that one person that gives a shit that we're on the earth and that we're clean and we're not using and that we're there,
Mhm.
because life's life changes when someone dies.
Mhm.
Something so unnecessary when they were only in pain to begin with.
Mhm. I know that Ryan's loss hit you really hard, but I know that he wasn't the only friend that you've lost. You've lost many friends to toxic drugs. And how does the weight of like one loss after another, like, how
We
does
have
that?
lost how many people in this town alone this year? Awful, because we're
Mhm.
not bad people.
Mhm.
Usually people like us are the ones that feel the most. And we're probably most likely going to be the people that empathize and sympathize the most with
Mhm.
other people's struggles. And to have those people like Ryan, who, or I'm not going to say any other names, I'm just saying Ryan because Ryan, like
Mhm.
Ryan, who's rabbits. Like we needed him still. We need all these people still,
Mhm.
because under there is all the good and the empathy and I'm sorry. I obviously, I feel like he was very much let down.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing, the system letting us down. Like,
So there's anger there. There's
yeah,
anger.
of course, lots. We're not
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
I like today trying to get someone into the hospital for a medical thing. The person didn't want to go in because of the way we're treated. And another person with us didn't understand that
Mhm.
no, this is why she doesn't want to go in. We're treated like garbage because
Mhm.
they can tell instantly,
Yeah.
like garbage, like we're not even human. And we are.
Are there any incidents, are there anything you would want to say to medical professionals, like the paramedics, like the hospital staff, like just thinking
Don't
back to how
get
you were treated?
aggressive with us. You're going to, okay. I've had very aggressive police when I've had a welfare check, and I've had very kind police. Guess who got farther? The kind ones, the ones that
Mhm.
treated me like a person that was ill, not someone they needed to wrestle with, that they needed to be nasty to or tied to a chair for no reason because they're having a bad day or because they have to deal with us all the time. Yeah, some of
Mhm.
us are assholes. We all assholes. It doesn't mean an addict.
Mhm.
Just okay, so I've had very aggressive people at me and I don't want the help from them. But somebody who comes to you gently, like when they've had awareness, they've let me have a cigarette before I've gone, a toke of pot if I needed to before I've gone. And before I go into the hospital, a cigarette because I know I'm not going to be allowed out for maybe 72 hours, and treat you like you're a person instead of shut up, sit down, shut up, sit down, shut up, sit down. No, you're not going out. Sit down, sit down, sit down. And then what happened with Ryan being tackled and charged by hospital staff when he had an illness. Do you tackle a cancer patient? No. We're all human. We all need help. And there's such a stigma that most of us won't get help.
Mm-hmm. I know that Ryan, one of the things he really was happy that I was doing, and that was really hard for me to do, was to relive our trauma by talking to the police during CIT training. But Ryan kept encouraging me to do that because he wasn't ready or at that point comfortable enough to do it himself, but he wanted me to share his experiences because he wanted the police to do better. He knew they had to do better for people because people's life were dependent on that.
Yeah, I say that to my dad will tell the police absolutely everything because he was of the day when they were our friend.
Yeah.
But they're almost like the enemy now.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, they're supposed to, like, people being terrified to call during an overdose because they think they'll get arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah, the police aren't even allowed in the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually illegal to leave someone overdosed. You could go to jail because they want you to save people.
Yeah.
And it's not going to end. It's not going away. It's been around for a long, long time and it's not going anywhere. And actually, it's becoming, it seems like it's more.
It's more because the drug supply is getting more toxic all the time.
I know. And that's why you always be with someone, always have a Narcan kit, like never. Don't let anybody die on your watch.
Mm-hmm. That was Ryan's saying.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if I articulated myself enough. I don't know how well I did.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You're doing great. You're being
trying,
honest. You're being honest and open and vulnerable.
And I know the people, like even the blood test, getting our blood tested. I was an IV user. So at the clinic I go to, they can take our blood because we even get shit going getting blood. Say, your veins are like ropes. Even that. And if I had something wrong with me, if I broke my leg or something, because I am an addict, I wouldn't even get painkillers or anything.
Yeah, I hear that all the time.
As drug seeker. No, ill, going to the hospital. We don't want to go to the hospital if we don't have to. Addicts are the people that do not want to go. The mentally ill are the people that do not want to go to the hospital ever. So if we're there, there's a reason. We don't want to be there because they treat us like shit.
Yeah. And I hear that over and over again from people that there's no point to go to the hospital because they're just going to treat me like garbage and I'm not going to get the help I need anyway. So it's just a waste of my time going there.
That's how I know. I'm like, that's why I don't like to go. I always. And people don't realize that so many people think it's a choice. It's not a choice. It's not a choice. No one would choose this. It's a choice to get clean, and it's very, very hard. It's not difficult. It's not easy in the least. If it was easy, it would have been done already. It would be a magic pill, but there isn't. It's hard, and it just takes support and the right people around you, the caring circle around you, the people that you can be honest with. And like when I was having a bad time, I was getting scared, and I told my dad that this was happening, and I was getting scared. And he was all up driving me wherever I went to make sure I was with him. And like, could you drive me? I'm scared that I'm gonna, like, if you're not around, I'll use something. Like, can you do this for a little? We're helped, and I haven't used it for quite a while. And I can go alone.
I'm proud of you. I just want to say that I'm proud of you, and I love you.
Hard, man. I was hard. I know that Ryan wouldn't have wanted that anyway. So like he would have been like, what the, are you serious now?
Yeah.
Claire? Come on.
Mhm.
I love you so much. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I have
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for
Because
being
you're one of those
vulnerable.
people that any of us can go to.
Mhm.
Like you could have a stranger come up to you and you would help them.
That's what I think we're here for. We're here to help each other, like life is
And
hard for
it takes a
everyone. It's hard
village.
for me, it's hard for every single one of
What
us. And
what you're going through is unnatural.
yeah.
You're not supposed to lose people this way. It's unnatural. And
Mhm.
every day, and I love this. I was told every day an addict is clean is a miracle because we aren't meant not to use. It's like a person suddenly not having diabetes for a day
Mhm.
or cancer or their legs suddenly came back.
Yeah.
It literally is a miracle because we are not wired that way. We are wired to use. So it is unnatural for us not to. And I was told we are miracles every day we are clean.
I believe that.
Sounds like a miracle every day you're clean.
Mhm.
Like have faith in yourself
Yeah.
or just that person that looks up to you. Just think about the one person who's looking up to you,
Mhm.
maybe, and that might change some action.
Yeah.
Even not even children, just vulnerable people. And most of
Mhm.
them are very vulnerable and can be
Yeah.
taken advantage of all kinds.
I think that's a myth that we have, is that people have been taught to fear people that are mentally ill or people that use substances or people that are homeless. And
So scary
nothing
right
could be
there, right?
further from the truth. They are the one that are more likely to be targeted and be the victims of violence rather than
Yes,
actually committing
because we won't report it.
violence. Hmm.
We won't report it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the young kids today also don't know when they're in addiction situation, they're usually kicked out of the house pretty early. Some of them don't even know what the proper relationship between an adult and a child is.
Hmm.
And they're vulnerable people,
Yeah.
vulnerable, very, all of us. And we have to, like, I've always been told you don't do this alone. And a lot of rehabs and detoxes won't even hire people that haven't been addicts.
Hmm.
You don't want to you want to hear someone who's had an experience, who's been there, that
Hmm.
understands.
Yeah. And that's totally why we have our peer support program at Ryan's Hope, and why I'm really working this year. It's
I'll
my
do
goal
it.
to develop that further, is because
I'll do it.
yes, I'm a safe person and I can be there to help in certain ways, but I don't have a substance use issue and I never have. And so there's certain things that I can't help with that you
You
can
have
help with.
lived with us. I know, but
Mhm.
uh, you're the one clean person I think that can say they pretty much know it,
Mhm.
that I know at least, that know
Yeah.
it enough to say something and someone I would listen to.
Yeah. But I'm
Appreciate it.
saying for me, as much as I have an amazing support network around me of like family and community friends and church and all of these people that have held me up and supported me since Ryan's passing. But there's
How many years?
sometimes that the only person that I really need to talk to is another mother that has
Yeah.
buried their child.
My mom, when Ryan, when my mom was still alive and everything, the reason that she was never able to call you was because she couldn't relive it.
Hmm.
Trauma with me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. They kicked me out. Best thing they ever did. But
Hmm.
that's like that for me at least. And I always said the only thing, the difference between me and Ryan is one thing. I'm alive.
Yeah.
That's the only difference between us.
Hmm. And he should be alive. And for
Yeah.
me, I
Yeah.
still have anger with that, because
I do
there's a
too.
failure of the system, a
Hmm.
failure of our government laws and policies that Ryan isn't with us. And that's why we keep doing this. That's why we keep talking and having these conversations, because no other mother, no other best friend should know the pain that we're going through.
No.
It sucks and it's wrong. And people are dying every day, and these are preventable deaths. These
And
are deaths that shouldn't have to happen.
and you will not get arrested for being there, for saving them. Please use your Narcan kit. Save the person. Always have them with you. You are not going to go to jail.
Or call the police and then leave.
Call 911 immediately.
And then walk away.
Exactly.
Leave the house.
You don't exactly. Just my ex, Kevin, when he overdosed in the bathroom and I kicked him out, they charged him as well. He almost died, but they're like, oh, we saved you, but we're going to charge you.
Mm-hmm.
He came back and is like, they were dropped. Why? Good Samaritan Act. I'm like, I thought he was joking. Seinfeld, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I looked into it, and there is the Good Samaritan Act, and the police aren't even allowed in the house when someone is overdosing. Because
they need to stop coming to the calls, though. That's the thing. Because as long as they're continuing to come to the calls, people are going to be afraid to call.
I know they shouldn't be coming. Okay, so the first one I ever had to deal with, we didn't have Narcan kits at that point, and the police never came in. The paramedic went outside and said, we didn't even know they were there till later. The paramedic went outside, you're not needed, and they left. And that was it. We never even knew they were there till later.
Yeah.
But they shouldn't be coming.
Yeah.
At all. No, just medical.
Yeah, it's a medical emergency. So just like if we're calling if someone's having a heart attack, please don't come. And, it's a waste of resources.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, it's a waste of resources, and it prevents people from calling to get people life-saving help. And it actually costs life. I think it cost Ryan his life.
I think it did.
I'm still angry about that.
I am too. Yeah. Like again, what happened this morning? She could have just died. If it wasn't for you.
And you. It was team. It was caring people, because that's what we need to do. Our government is failing. Our medical system is failing. People that are struggling. And so we need to be there for each other. And that's what Ryan's Hope is all about. So I guess maybe the one last...
Who wants to hire a drug addict too?
Yeah. One of the last thing I maybe want to ask you about. So we've talked a lot about the substance issue part of it, but at Ryan's Hope, our mission is to advocate and support people that are experiencing mental illness, substance use issue, and homelessness. Can you talk about how those interconnect together? How you can't really separate them. You can't get a
job as an addict. It's a full-time job, right? So you're most likely going to go homeless because you don't have your priorities set straight. Sorry, ask it again.
So just how substance use, mental illness, and homelessness are interconnected, like why we need to address those three things together.
Well, they can all come together. First, like homelessness, if you're homeless, it doesn't necessarily mean you're an addict, but there's a good chance that you are an addict. If you're an addict, you're going to be homeless because your priorities are not straight. Your money is not going to rent, it's going to drugs. It's going to other things. But also, who wants to rent to someone that could be schizophrenic and talking to themselves? Even though they're not going to hurt you. They're not going to do anything. Or somebody who's bipolar that might yell. They're not going to hurt you. They're just venting. No one is going to hurt you. You do not need to be afraid. And I think another reason why the mentally ill were treated like such shit, it's a natural thing to go to drugs to make yourself feel better as well. So like happy people are not going to do drugs the way we do or drink the way we do. They go hand in hand. They say that addiction is a symptom of other things, of depression, because do you know happy people that want to use? No. It's everyone that uses has something.
Yeah, and sometimes the homelessness
balance, it's something we're born with.
Yeah, and I've heard too, sometimes the homelessness comes first and then the substance use comes from being homeless, because it's dangerous living on the street.
It's depressing.
And you use to stay awake because it's not safe to go to sleep,
especially for a woman. You got to have stuff on you because you don't want to get attacked. And yeah, it's, or you just want to forget what's just happened to you, or a lot of working girls, because of what they, to do the job,
Mhm.
just to check out for a bit. And they already are, I've just met so many people in the last little while that have had such, like, they're, I don't even know how to put it into words. It's just, some people, I look at them and I'm like, how are you not an addict? How are you
Mhm.
handling yourself like this? You have all this going on. How are you handling this?
I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I
Not
wish
using
I
anything. I
used
don't know how
something
you do
because I
it.
have no coping thing. I have no escape. I
You
feel my
don't.
feelings all the time.
Yes, and it's horrible. That's why it's son of a bitch, everything's real,
Mhm.
and just, and no, not every addict is going to rob you or hurt you, or they just need to be treated like they're human, that they're human beings that are loved and cared for.
Doing the work that we do with Ryan's Hope and seeing the sense of family and community within the homeless community and people that use drugs
Yeah,
is just so beautiful and so amazing to me,
I
the
think
way
it is
that they
too.
look out for each other.
Yeah,
And they're the most kindest people. Like they
I
hardly
know.
have anything to give. And
No,
whatever they have, whatever little thing they have to give, they want to give it to me. They
yeah.
want to give it
And
to Ryan's Hope
my
because
dad's like,
they want to give back.
Claire, didn't you take $20 when, didn't you have a pack of cigarettes? Didn't you have food when you went out today? I gave it away.
Yeah. I remember Ryan. Ryan gave everything away. And I met
I
a gentleman.
literally off
I,
his back. I have 2 shirts that he literally took off himself and
yeah.
gave to me. I have the chair in the other room that they've actually put in the other room. And I'm
Mhm.
going to put this, that I've got something over it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember a gentleman came to breakfast one morning and he cried. He said, I remember your son. I'll always remember your son. He gave me $100. Like
That was,
this old
Ryan
man, and he
wanted to
cried.
take me to a store that we both liked because it was the putting up, it was for putting up with him.
Mhm.
And he wanted to go in there and spend money on me for putting up with him.
Mhm.
I'm like, Ryan, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do it. I didn't let him. I wouldn't let him. Uh, Christine, you're amazing. I love you.
Love you too, Claire. And thank you for being vulnerable and open and helping to have difficult conversations and to use your lived experience to help other people and to
Yeah,
make
and
people aware,
if
you
you need
know?
peer people, if you need to use me,
Yeah, like
yeah,
that's the peer support, people sharing their lived experience. I don't believe that there's anything that you go through in life that you should have to be ashamed of. I
or
think
be alone for.
you can use your experience to help
Mhm.
other people, right?
Yeah,
You're further
yeah,
along in the journey than someone else, and maybe you can help them find their way
yeah,
forward.
yeah. You tell them what you do, and you try to help, and like, oh, I can't believe, like, if the pandemic doesn't help, obviously, I just can't believe how many people we lost
Yeah, for sure.
unnecessarily.
And every
Very.
day we're in danger of losing more. And that's why it's important that we keep talking and we keep having these conversations and we keep supporting each other and going out in the community. And it's about the boots on the grounds,
Yeah.
you know,
You have to sit here and think about it. You actually have to go out and do it
yeah,
because nobody
neighbors
else can.
helping neighbors, but then
Yeah.
also at a higher level, like having those difficult conversations with politicians and people in power to
You're right
actually
about the police thing
make
of
a
even
difference.
coming to the calls. I never even thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. But we'll
No, but thank
continue to
you.
talk. We'll have another
Okay.
conversation.
I love
And
you. Thank you,
we
Christine.
just thank
I'm
you
nervous
for
about
everything
this,
you're doing.
but I
All
love you
right.
very much.
Thank you, Claire.
Bye.
Bye.